Welcome to the first of two roundtable discussions today. It's our summer summit on judging. And today we're going to be talking about trying to get young people into judging and why it's important. I have some very important guests with me, of course. So let's get on with the introductions.
Hi, my name is Guille and I'm from Mexico City and I'm an international judge.
Sidious.
Okay, hi, I'm Facilius. I'm from Singapore. I am also an international judge.
Hi, I'm Graham. I'm from the United Kingdom, Great Britain, and I'm an international judge and I sit on the International Judge Committee.
Well, welcome to all of you. Like I say, today is all about the encouragement of getting young judges involved. And Graham, what better place to start than with you? First off, I have to say, well done for the fabulous branding you've got behind you. Everyone's commenting about everyone's backdrops on these amazing Zoom calls. Listen, you've got some serious pedigree. Deputy in London. You led things in Rio, and I understand you're heavily involved in Tokyo as well. So you seriously know about the world of judging. So my question for you to start with is really simple. Why would you want to be a judge?
Okay, can I just put you right on one thing? I wasn't deputy in London. I was one of the judges, but I did do the very final men's individual gold medal match as line judge. Why do people want to become a judge, or why did I want to become a judge? Mine was through a family background, because both my uncle and my father were judges in archery, and I was shooting, and judging was an option. I took it up. Primarily, it's about being involved, and you're involved with people. So it's a great way of if you're not shooting terribly well, as I wasn't at the time, it was a great way of maintaining that contact with a lot of friends that I'd made already, and made a lot more new friends. I then took it a bit further, as it shows, and I get a lot of enjoyment out of it. I like seeing events go well. I like being a part of that result, if you like, and ensuring that the athletes can perform to the best of their ability.
Yeah, it's a really interesting perspective actually about that, wanting to be involved, because if it's actually the love of the sport. Basilius, I come to you now. Clearly, Graham has got some great experience. You're possibly the earlier part of your judging career. What's in it for you? Why judge?
Well, I started as an archer first, so I was doing archery in school all the way until university. But I know I wasn't going to continue, because once I stopped schooling and going to work, then there won't be enough time for me to do the sport anymore. But then I want to continue with the sport. So, and then there was this mentor that started telling us about what he does as a judge. And then I started going out to the continental competitions. And I took a liking to it, because even though I cannot shoot, I can still be with the sport.
Yeah, and Guille, have you got anything to add to that?
Well, for me, it was kind of a similar situation. I also was an archer, but then I got into college and I stopped shooting. But I really like the archery community, because it's like a family. And all my parent is involved as well. He is also a judge, although he is a continental judge. And since he went to the Central American Games, I said, well, I can do Olympic Games as a judge. Why not?
So
and that's how I started.
So for all three of you, it's all about contact with a sport that you love. What is the benefit? I'll stay with you, Guille. What's the benefit of being a judge, and what do you get in return?
Well, I think one of the main benefits for me is to get to know people for all around the world, and to you get to see places that you couldn't see by yourself, and also like to be really involved in other ways in the sport. Like it's not the same to be an archer and to be a judge, because when you're a judge, you see like everything it's going on in the competition.
A wider view. Basilius, have you got anything to add to that? What do you get from judging?
Like what Gilly says, it's friends from all over the world. We get to meet up during the competitions, and then we get to hang out. And well, at the same time, we also get to know about the local cultures, the places that we went to judge.
Yeah, travel's a really big, important part of all aspects of sport for athletes and officials. Graham, you've done it for a little bit longer than our other two guests today. What would you say the biggest benefit has been for you, and the biggest return has been from you from being involved in judging? For certainly since 2012 and onwards.
I really think the answer to that is how you feel. You feel great when you're at a big event and things go well, particularly. You do feel good when things have gone wrong and you've solved them. That's also true. But it's that sense of camaraderie with the whole team that are working on an event. That's a really good thing to be able to come back and say, hey, yeah, I was part of that Olympic Games archery event, or I was part of that World Championship archery event that went really well. That's a huge feeling. It's a huge good feeling that you can get. And that for me has been the biggest thing. I come back feeling, wow, I did that. I was part of that. And it is, yeah, it's that inner feeling. It's just good.
It's interesting you say that, Graham, because one thing that I think a lot of people say that the best referees, the best judges in the world are the ones that you forget. So often, if you're really good at your job, which I'm sure all three of you are, nobody really notices you. And so when you talk about an inner feeling, you must really thrive on that.
Yeah, you're right. Surely, and I agree with the thing that the best officials tend to be the ones that conduct the event, whether it be archery, whether it be football or whatever, in a manner which means they're not the centerpiece. It is the athletes, the players that are the centerpiece. And we just do our job quietly, calmly, efficiently, and make sure that the right result's there. And that's why you get that inner feeling of, wow, I did that, I created that, I helped that happen, and I helped the right result be achieved.
Yeah, it's really interesting. And I think there's a number of things that all three touched on. A love for what you're doing, a passion for the sport, the absorption of different cultures. I think the desire to travel and having the opportunity to visit different countries, and then of course the archery family, which you seem to all be indicating. Graham, I'm going to stay with you for my next question, because I think this is really the crux of this whole round table. Is should we have more young judges involved in the sport, and why?
Can I start with why?
Yeah, please do.
So why do we need younger judges? We need younger judges because really, as we get older, we get less efficient, in all honesty. Up to a certain point, you can be really, really good, but you will at times perhaps lose that efficiency. And we do have a cutoff age. So we need to ensure there is a forward planning, if you like. So you bring in younger judges earlier. You can train them. You can work them with the experienced judges. So a good team, in my view, would consist of a mix of experience and youth, because that way the youth are really learning so that they can take on those more experienced roles as they develop. Do we need more? I think the answer to that is always we should be looking to ensure that the development is there and youth judges are always coming through, or younger judges, I should say, because we have a specific youth judge category, but younger judges are coming through. And I think it is key, but define young.
Yeah,
You know.
yeah, it's an interesting point. Would you say just because of the experience that you've got and having sort of come through the ranks and files, as it were, of the officiating world, is it a case of here's a bunch of experienced judges, a percentage, let's not put a number on it, but here's a bunch of them and here's a bunch of less experienced, or is it graded? Do you have sort of like the newbies coming in and then some slightly experienced and then the really experienced judges right at the top of the panel, if you like?
It can vary. I mean, younger judges can often have more experience than some older judges because people do come into judging at different ages. So there's nothing to stop a situation where one of our younger judges is very much at the forefront of leading a team if they have the right sort of credentials. It's yeah, it's for me a balanced team is about blending experience and youth. And using that opportunity to develop the youth as well.
Well, we'll turn to Guille first. What's your experience as a younger member of the judging aficionado? Do you enjoy being involved, and what's your journey been like?
Oh, yes, I really enjoy being a judge. Well, I started like in 2010. From there, I didn't stop. I really like international competitions. Like they have a feeling of I don't know, like a lot of commitment and a lot of professionalism that I try to bring home. So our events are as professional and have the same commitment as international events.
That's a really interesting point, actually. You take experience in the international field and taking it back home to share around the world, and I think that's a really important part of the growth of the sport, because it's not just about the athletes; it is about the officials and the volunteers involved. Persis, do you have anything to add? What's your story been like? What's your journey been like as a young official?
Uh, well, I started as a youth judge actually, um, and it so happened that I was the first batch of youth judge in 2009, and then 2010 was the first Youth Olympic Games that was held in my country. Yeah, so and I get to represent my country as a judge, and that's really a great honor, and it's really enjoyable. And then from then on, I went to different kind of competitions, and it's really great. Each competition you learn a lot of things from the various people that you work with. Yeah.
That's another interesting point, actually. You mentioned about athletes are always talking about how proud they are to represent their country, but of course it's the same for everybody else that's involved in the tournament. You're representing your nation, whether it be calling a 9 or a 10 or shooting it. So it's that is an interesting point. Perseus, I'm going to stick with you because of what you just told me about your involvement in the youth structure through a domestic international tournament, the Youth Olympic Games. How important is it to get your experience at home first, domestically in national competitions?
I think when you have experience at home, because it's your home ground, you are more comfortable. You're not that stressed. You're more familiar with the people who you have seen them before. So when you go out to judge, you are less stressed because you know what you're doing. It's just different faces, but different athletes, but the target face is still the same. The scores are still the same. The way you call it is still the same. But the home experience gives you the home competition gives you the experience to do.
And the confidence, I guess.
Yeah.
And Gia, would you add to that? Is there anything? Do you believe that a good international archer has had a good foundation by doing a lot of domestic or regional tournaments first?
Yes, I think so. That you should have like a solid basic in your own country, so you can at least know when you get out of your own country how tournaments run. And but this is not only like doing national events because they tend to be a little bit different because of the circumstances. You don't have television, you don't have broadcasting, so it also helps to watch like the videos for archery to see how competition develops and what you can apply when you get out of your country to participate in another tournament.
Yeah, also very interesting that you have to look ahead to know what's coming up in the future. Graham, for you, my question is fairly simple. You must have a good understanding of the. Maybe there's not specific criteria of how you bring on your users, but that experience at home, domestically or indeed zonally, must be very important.
Yes, I agree with Basilius and Gilly here. That learning at home helps. I judged for about 12 years in the UK before I became a continental judge. So I had that bigger understanding of the judging at home first. And that gave me perhaps the ability to deal with people, learn how to deal with the people, learn how to deal with the athletes. And I think that's an important part of it. So you get that background to walk straight into a major event, I think would as a first event as a judge would just cripple anybody. It really wouldn't work. You'd be so far out of your depth at not really understanding what was going on. So that good grounding at local level. The tournaments are smaller, they're not run in quite the same way, but nevertheless they're still the same thing. The archers go on the line, shoot the arrows, we judge what's going on. It gives you that much better understanding. So yeah.
So okay, so something very, very specific then. I'm from, let's say, Serbia, not necessarily a well-known archery country, and I decide that I want to pursue a career I want to become an international archery judge, and I want to go to the 2024 Olympic Games or the 2028 Olympic Games. What's the route? What's my route? What do I have to do?
Okay, to become an international judge, you need to start by being a judge in your own country, generally. And then you get the agreement from your federation to be able to go forward to become a continental judge. So for Gilly, it's the Americas. For Basilius, it was the Asia. For me, it's Europe. So in Serbia, it would be going forward to World Archery Europe as a continental judge. You pass the various tests that we have for that. You do some work. You get selected to attend various events. You are seen to be good. You have to be good enough, and you can then apply to the next sort of seminar for international judge candidacy with the support of both your regional continental association and your member association. You then pass the various tests there, and you then are eligible to be selected for various events internationally. Now, at that point, we also, and I think at continental level 2 now, of course, we do have reaccreditation every 4 years, so you keep that up. For if you really want to go to the Olympics, you have to be accredited as an international judge candidate 5 years before an Olympic Games. So there is a lead-in time.
2024 then, have I?
So you've missed 2024. I only just made London. And then you have to have been upgraded from international judge candidate to international judge. So you've got to have proved your ability, and that's another key aspect that has to be fulfilled. And you maintain your accreditation. That's always important every 4 years. So yeah.
So it comes through.
That's kind of the nutshell.
Yeah, no, that's great. I mean, because I'm thinking about the young officials out there, the wannabe officials that don't necessarily know what the route is. So get it right domestically, get it right zonally, get accredited internationally, and and stay good by being reaccredited every 4 years?
I think,
Go on, sorry.
I was going to say, I think, yes, stay good, work at it, work at it and study at it, and look at ways you could improve all the time. Never think you've got to be the very best and you're the best you can be. Always think there are areas you can improve.
One other question about the sort of mechanics of it all, and I'm not very good at many things, but asking a dumb question is one of them. When you become an archery judge, do you learn everything, or are you a specific line judge or a specific target judge? Is it? Do you have to know the whole thing?
You pretty much know the whole thing, but you as an individual might wish to prefer doing a certain task. Arguably director of shooting, we've got some very good judges who are excellent directors of shooting, and there are other judges who would rather not do it at all. We have judges who would much prefer to be a line judge than a target judge, and vice versa. So when you've got a judge team with you, you play to those strengths when you're judging. And if you're really good at one, the other one would be field judging. Some people like doing field judging, others don't want to. There is a difference. You don't have to be an all-encompassing judge. You can focus on certain bits, but you've got to understand all of the roles.
Okay, it's that's really interesting. I think that does give a good view to our audience that are interested in trying to get into or improve and expand on their journey in the world of judging archery. I'm going to move on from you, Graham, but only because I want to ask you this question last. So I'm going to come back to you, Basilius. All of you have said that you were archers. You shot. You actually had a bow and an arrow in your hand and you stood on the shooting line and aimed at the target. Do you need to be an archer before you can be a judge?
No, you don't need to. But the experience of being an archer will help you understand when you are judging, how does the archer feel?
Interesting. Gia, what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I completely agree with Basilius. That you don't have to be an archer, because in a lot of judges in my country, they are parents of archers. So they brought their children to the field and they stay for hours there. They decided to do something with their lives and become a judge instead of only watching. So yes, you don't have to be an archer, but it helps you if you are an archer to understand the flow of the competition.
Yeah, another interesting point. The volunteer army is often a bunch of ex-athletes' parents, and sometimes they stay on longer in a sport than the athletes themselves.
Yeah.
Graham, your thoughts about that, because you must have seen a lot of everything that Basilius and Gia are saying.
I agree entirely. You don't have to be, but it can make a difference because you perhaps have a little more understanding about what's going through an archer's mind.
Yeah, so a bit of empathy comes into the mix. But I suppose it comes back to, as you were saying earlier on, a bit of balance. Sometimes someone who's dedicated themselves, let's say, to being an official, which we see in football a lot more now. I know it's a mass participation sport, but some of those today in the big leagues in Europe and South America never kicked a football in their lives. They trained to be officials and they know the rules inside out.
Yeah, and it's perfectly feasible in archery to do the same. Perfectly feasible. The biggest key is your people strength, your people skills, to be quite honest at that point, because how are you dealing with the people? How are you getting the message across when you've got to perhaps penalize someone? You know, we don't like doing that, but we have to. In the same way that a football referee probably doesn't like penalising someone, but has to.
Yeah, part of the job.
Yeah.
Well, I got one last question for all of you before we round up. And Graham, as we're on you, we'll stay with you. Lockdown perhaps hasn't affected archery as much as other sports. It has a bit of natural social distancing to it. But what have you been doing in your downtime? Have you been still practicing?
Practicing judging has not been on the cards. Although keeping up to date with some various rule bits and pieces and interpretations of rules has been, with some work with the judge committee as well. But I've done a little bit of shooting when I was able to get out there and do some shooting. And doing what everybody else has tried to do, which is stay safe, make sure the family are safe. And yeah, I don't go to work anymore, so it does help.
Yeah,
But yeah, it will be nice to get back onto a field of play with all my friends and colleagues from around the world.
yeah. Basilius, what about yourself? What have you been up to during this this period, this hiatus in international archery?
Oh, nothing much actually, because we're all kept indoor.
Guy, what about you? Have you been able to keep up to date with the rules Graham's been talking about? I'm not sure whether Guy can hear us. Guy, can you hear us? Are you there? We seem to be having some slight connection issues with the Americas. Guy, we haven't quite got you. The sound is a little poor. So I'm going to come back to you, Basilius. My final question is, how are we supposed to encourage more younger people to get involved in being an official in archery?
For us, we're trying to get archers they're like me who does archery in school, but they are not going to continue archery. So we are looking at this group of people and plan out their pathway for them to see if they're interested. Of course, you cannot force people, because one of the major switch when they finish school, they're going to focus on their work. Not everybody is going to stay with the sport if they're not shooting. I mean, we're not exactly the most well-liked people in the field. Yeah. So maybe out of 10 people we approach, maybe just 1 or 2 will stay. And then how long they will stay, I mean, they have different priorities, especially for the younger people. So, but we try as much as we can. We get them because they have an interest in the sport as archer. So hopefully they will continue that. And then of course, then you got to have some carrots, like
Yes.
you get to, because we have this group of youth judges, so they can go to the youth Olympic Games and so on. Yeah, so the carrot is there, but then slowly get them interested in judging as well.
That's really interesting. I think that's sounds a very good idea. That having that carrot, you need to have a sales pitch, and I think that was also we mentioned earlier on. You need to attract the right people who automatically have that interest and passion for the sport, but also this desire to see the world. You want to be involved in travel, and some people just don't like jumping on a plane for however many hours to go to another continent. And I think you need to have that within you if you're going to be involved in international sport. Graham, what would you add to that? What would you say are the key? I'd say the top 3 things to get more young people involved in officiating sport.
Well, I think you covered the first one of there is a carrot there for them. There's an incentive, if you like, of where they could get to, and making it clear that is possible with the hard work and dedication that anybody would need. It's difficult to sort of pick 3 things. We're trying in the UK. We are running a youth sort of judging piece and trying to encourage more younger people to get involved. We explain the camaraderie, if you like, amongst it. We try and encourage them and try and give them that support and let them know they will get support to help them develop. And the fact that actually doing something outside of what you do work-wise, and bearing in mind I've done this for a long time outside of work, it's quite a rewarding thing. Beyond work, it gives you something else in your CV, in your locker. It's a nice, positive thing to do with your life.
Yeah, I agree. I know you and I have had a number of chats over the last couple of years, and I know how passionate you are about the sport, and That's I guess what makes it
Yeah,
so
a little.
special for you, and that's great to see. Well, look, very much for your time. Basilius, I'm going to ask you if there's anything else that you want to add about encouraging young people to get into the sport of archery or to improve their journeys.
Can you repeat your question again?
Is there anything else that you would say to people to encourage them to get involved in becoming a judge in archery?
It's a great way to make friends from all over the world.
That's a beautiful sentiment. Guy, it looks like we've got you back. You missed a tiny little bit. Well done for making it back.
Sorry for that.
No problem at all. Is there anything, I know you missed a tiny bit, but we were talking about the camaraderie and getting more young people involved in archery. What would you have to say about that? Is there any words of encouragement you have?
Well, I think you need to show what judges do. Like, well, archery needs to show more what we do, like, or to show it from the youngest perspective, so that other young people will say, like, oh, I want to do the same thing that they are doing. So that would be maybe a good thing to do. Like to, yeah.
No, that's a very interesting point. Showcase what you guys are doing, and maybe we say you're a bit of the unsung heroes, but you do a very important job, and I think showing behind the scenes would be a good thing. Graham, I'm going to leave the last words with you on this point. Is there anything else that you would add to encourage? What would you say the key benefits of being a judge and getting involved at a young age?
I think Gilly and Basilius have said it all, really. Opportunity. It's opportunity to meet people, to see places, and to enjoy doing something with others and getting involved and seeing a great reward at the end of it with a great event or a great result. It is just something that I can't, it's difficult for me to explain. I think it's just something I love doing.
And I think that is really important. Well, Graham, Basilius, and Guy, thank you very much indeed for your time. It's been a real pleasure talking to you and getting a little bit more of a feeling. I'm going to have a word with World Archery about maybe doing a little bit of a feature on you guys and what you guys do in the background that we don't often see. But thank you to you, and thanks to all of you for watching. We've got a second summit later on today about whether these guys should be paid. But for now, thanks a lot.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Adios.